called Forum Shopping. Joining me now, Mike Davis, former law clerk to Justice Neil Gorsuch, president of the Article 3 Project. Also with me, Andrew Stoltman, a criminal defense attorney. Mike, let's start with you. Now, the Trump administration today is appealing the decision, but an unelected judge tells the nation's chief executive officer that he does not have the power to hire or fire, and presumably, federal employees. How does that work?
It doesn't work under Article 2 of the Constitution. The president, as the chief executive officer, can fire any and all executive branch workers. And if they don't like why they were filed, they can go to the Merit Systems Protection Board and get monetary damages. But to have an activist judge in San Francisco tell the president he has to rehire thousands of fired employees over the president's objection is clearly unconstitutional.
And the judge, Andrew, said that he said, I tend to doubt that you're telling me the truth. I've been practicing in this court for over 50 years. That kind of tells the story. And I know how we get at the truth. And you're not helping me get at the truth. Andrew, again, this is unbelievable. I mean, this is San Francisco, of course. This is the district they need to have these nationwide injunctions, also the First Circuit up in Boston. But your reaction tonight to this?
Well, look, it's a classic case of a judge gone wild, right? There's a reason why the Ninth Circuit is considered a judicial hellhole, because it really is. It has the most opinions in any court in the United States, overturned the most. And there's a reason for that. Look, judges are supposed to be like umpires or referees, only calling balls and strikes, right? We've always heard that during the confirmation process, that's what the Democratic senators want the judges to be, except in cases like this. Except in cases like this, where you have a judge who's taking an activist role, and he's not an umpire, but rather he's trying to be a player on the field, and that's unfortunate.
I know. When he says, I've been doing this for 50 years, it's called one word, retire. Okay, that's just too many years. All right. Today, the Trump administration is also asking the Supreme Court to partially allow birthright citizenship restrictions by letting basically it go into effect for everyone except the people and a group that sued trying to block the order. Now, Mike, explain that. This confuses me a little bit, so explain this strategy.
Well, first of all, just because you were born in the United States does not give you birthright citizenship. You have to be a lawful permanent resident here. You can't be an illegal immigrant invading our country and expect your kids to get rewarded with birthright citizenship. But an activist
the court hasn't ruled on that, Mike. I mean, the court hasn't ruled on that, and there's, I mean, I don't have a lot of faith that this court would actually move to end birthright citizenship.Maybe you have more faith in the court doing that. I certainly do not.
No, I understand that, but if you actually follow what the Constitution says under the 14th Amendment, the court should. But regardless, you have these activist judges around the country issuing nationwide injunctions, and the Trump Justice Department said, no, that's not how it works. You have to, injunctions apply to the parties before the court. These courts are not Congress, and so that's where the Trump administration is going to the Supreme Court and asking them to limit these nationwide injunctions.
Yeah, well, that's the clear way of putting it. It seemed by the reporting as it was done, it was unclear. That actually makes it very clear, so thank you. Andrew, on this point, again, we don't know what the court will do ultimately on this question of birthright citizenship, given the provision in the Constitution. However, what if the Trump administration instead says, okay, you know, we might win or lose on that, but I'll tell you, if you come here illegally and you have a child, you are still going home. That kind of cuts the incentive off. Focus on what's called the anchor children, the parents of the anchor children, and tell them, look, presumably you would want your children to go home with you, but you're going to have to go home and apply the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of levers that can be pressed in this situation. I realize it's such a hot button issue, right? We all have compassion for people in this situation, but you know, Trump is trying to pull as many different levers as he can to try to stem this issue. There are a whole bunch of Democrats or a whole bunch of Democratic judges out there who are trying to block this, but you got to give him credit for at least trying to pull every lever that he possibly can.
Yep, and end the nationwide injunction scourge, which ultimately is what they're trying to accomplish, I think, with this birthright citizenship appeal. Andrew and Mike, thank you very much. Ahead.